Greetings students, Floating Head Professor here to go through our background research and methodology assignment for this week. So this is the next section in your signature assignment that we're going to be working on in pieces throughout the term. So this is our next section. So let's take a look at this and see what it says. So for this part, we're actually doing the background research on our question, and we're trying to figure out what kind of methodology we want to use, right? So let's talk about the background research first. Other people have asked your question before, right? There are very few unique questions in humanity, right? So people have already done this. Go find out what they said. This is when we're going to be using Central Penn's library. We're going to go into our library site to look up articles and things like that to see what the research is saying about these topics, okay? I would read the abstracts. They're the little summaries of the articles, and they're usually much easier to understand than the articles themselves. So as you're going through that, look and see what other research has been done. Now, the reason we do it in this order is when we learn about the other research that has been done on a researched question, we're going to learn about the best ways to do this research, right? So if other people have done this before us, other people have already figured out the most effective way to answer our question. So if you're not certain if you need to do an experiment or a survey or naturalistic observations, you may absolutely have those questions answered by your background research. Okay, so I would absolutely start with your background research before you figure out your methodology, because it will absolutely help you get to your methodology. Now, you guys are online, so you do not have the same requirements in terms of like working with classmates and all of that. You do not have to have the minimum. I think there's like a minimum in here somewhere of like 5 to 10 people in your experiment or whatever. Whatever you can find. Surveys or interviews must still have at least 15 questions, and I would prefer you use a couple of subjects. Ideally 5, but if you can't find 5, even just 2 or 3 so we can get a decent sample, that's fine. If you're curious about something that's not on here, absolutely submit it and I will give you feedback as to whether or not that will work. And remember guys, if we get to this point in our project and we start doing the research, the background research, and we realize, oh no, my hypothesis wasn't right, what do? We change our hypothesis. This is science, guys. It's literally how science works. This is how scientists change their hypothesis. So that's totally fine if your hypothesis changes after you start to do the background research, right? Because that's science and that's how science works. All right? So we're going to go to the library. We're going to see who else has done our topic before us. We're going to see what they learned about our topic before us. And we're going to use that information to start developing what we're going to do our experiment on, okay? Now remember, the next chunk of your assignment is to actually do your experiment. So I would get that started so you don't get caught off guard when that is due, all right? Okay, so that's that section. I have all the requirements in terms of submission, Times New Roman. This shouldn't be super long, 1 to 2 pages. Size 12 font, 1-inch margins, all of that kind of stuff. You can read that all here. But go ahead and get that in. I will give you guys feedback as soon as is humanly possible for me. And this is the last thing you have this week. So once you've turned this in, you are done for the week, and I will see you next week. All right, I'll see you in the next video, guys.